Here in California, and voters are casting their ballots to help shape the future of the state. We're pleased to be joined by Corrin Rankin, the chair of the California Republican Party. Corrin, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So it's a big day. How's the Republican Party feeling?
We're feeling good. Every poll has shown that Steve Hilton is leading the race. Either he comes in at number 1 or number 2. So we're feeling pretty confident.
So in the race for governor, I want to talk about two main key issues here. For California congressional races, we know 2 elections in Riverside County and the Central Valley have been top priorities for you. We have the race for the House and the 40th district race. How are you measuring success tonight?
Well, so in the Riverside, if you're talking about Congressman Ken Calvert versus Youngkin, we're going to see a Republican in that race. We're also looking at Congressional District 13 in the Central Valley. We've supported Kevin Lincoln, and we're hoping to see him come through the top 2 this evening.
Corrin, Donald Trump says the Republican Party is him, he and the GOP, and inseparable. Is that a good place for you going into the November election? Meaning that when people think of your party, they think of Donald Trump?
Well, we're the California Republican Party, so we want Californians to think of us as the California Republican Party. And, to be honest, yes, there is no daylight between the California Republican Party and the RNC. The RNC, we work together to protect the vote here in California. Take for this evening, we have a full war room that's designed to watch the votes. We've got volunteers on the ground in every county watching the ballots being counted. We've got attorneys on the ground making sure that everything is done above the board and that there's no cheating. And if there's something that comes through and somebody decides to commit voter fraud, we're going to come after you.
Corrin, as far as voter turnout, we've seen more enthusiasm from Republicans in early voting. What issues do you think are motivating them to go out and vote?
56% of Californians believe that California is headed in the wrong direction. Democrats have controlled this state for decades. Democrats are the wrong direction. I think that for years you've seen the Democrats blame everything on President Trump, and Californians are no longer buying the deflection. Our state's headed in the wrong direction. The Republican Party is literally the other direction.
Corrin Rankin, chair of the California Republican Party, want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you take care. I want to bring in Conan Nolan to discuss some of the major races we're looking at tonight. Well, you heard me talking to the chair of the Republican Party, and earlier I spoke to the chair of the Democratic Party, and both say they're feeling pretty good. They're feeling pretty confident about tonight's turnout. At this point, do you think we're going to see a Democrat and a Republican candidate for the governor?
Maybe, but I have to say that God bless the chair. I know she's doing the best she can. That's a minority party. The Republicans trail independents or decline to state in California. And there are plenty of people, she's right, I think, who would be looking for her party for some direction, but not Donald Trump's party. As long as this party is essentially, and she's trying to have it both ways. Oh, it's the California Republican Party, but there's no daylight between us and the Republican National Committee. That's Donald Trump's Republican National Committee. He loses this state by millions of votes every year. So it's going to be a hard slog for anybody to get elected statewide in the fall. So in answer to your question, I think Steve Hilton will probably be. It'd be interesting to see whether she put any pressure on Chad Bianco, the Riverside County Sheriff, to drop out. I think we'll have a Democrat and a Republican, but they're dollars to donuts. There's no chance Steve Hilton's going to be elected governor of the state, not if he's aligned with Donald Trump.
So you think that a lot of people still think of the Republicans as Donald Trump?
Completely. And Donald Trump has said that. Donald Trump says the Republican Party is me. Lindsey Graham says, the Republican Party is Donald Trump. So as soon as you identify that party, not a big tent, it's just him, then you have narrowed your avenues for success in a place like California, where Donald Trump is lost by 4.5, 3.5 million votes every time he's been on the ballot.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to L.A. mayor. Any chance that the incumbent mayor doesn't move forward come November?
Shocking poll, that L.A. Times poll, Institute for Governmental Studies at Cal. That's what rattled everybody's change, because you had Spencer Pratt in third and everybody believes that he will make the runoff. We're not sure, but the margin of error was so close. This race was so close. There was, for the first time, the possibility that the mayor might not make the runoff. I think that's unlikely. I noticed the poly markets, that people actually wager their money. She's an overwhelming favorite to make the runoff. She should make the runoff. She's the incumbent mayor. But the fact she's polling well below 30% is an indication a lot of people are upset. And so Spencer Pratt has a shot. Nithya Raman has a shot.
And of course, all of this depends on the key issues, right? What matters most to the people who are actually voting. So when it comes to that, what do you think is bringing out the voters this time around?
Well, for the mayor's race,
yes,
they're upset. They're just mad. And they're mad because of the conflagration that was the Palisades fire and the horrific lack of preparation, the immediate response. And that has triggered them looking around saying there's too much homelessness, too much crime, too much graffiti. I can't afford anything. And now, so there's this pent-up frustration. And it's coming not just from conservatives and Republicans and homeowners and Palisades. It's coming from across the board all over the city. And that's what the mayor has to deal with. And that's why she's polling below 30%. Now, is she responsible for all of that? You could make the argument, no, she's actually done a better job than people give her credit for. And homeless has been a problem long before Karen Bass arrived. But the electorate is upset. We see that nationally. We certainly see it here.
Conan, what are you looking at tonight?
Well, we're all interested in seeing just what the turnout's going to be and how well Spencer Pratt does. I'm also looking, there's a measure on the LA County ballot called Measure ER, which is a sales tax hike countywide for health initiatives because of the cut rollbacks from the federal government. I'm interested to see, this is a very Democratic county. I'm interested to see how that does, because if that is voted down, it says several things. People are tired of costs going up, and a sales tax hike is a sales tax hike, and it's a regressive tax. And it does not bode well for more tax hikes in November, because you're going to see a lot more on the ballot. So a lot of people, unions and others, who are looking to raise taxes in the fall are going to be watching ER to see, does LA County reject that? That is a bad omen.
And talk about who's going to be the most impacted by this. I know certain cities already have.
Oh, well, right. Oh, yeah.
Tax.
Lancaster and Palmdale, they already have the highest sales tax in the state, maybe in the country. Yeah. And so, it used to be, okay, 10%, a dime out of every dollar goes, but now it's going to be closer to 11 cents, and there's no end in sight to it. And again, it's regressive. So poor people pay it the same amount as rich people, and that's never a good calculus when it comes to formulating tax policy.
All right, big night tonight. Are you ready?
Big night. Got caffeine. We're ready to, ready to coffee up.
All right.
It'll be fun.
It certainly will.